everyone. Thank you for joining our Learn with Sawgrass session today. We are in a little bit of a different piece of the building. If you have not heard, we do have a live tomorrow with some panelists that we've brought in, some people who've been using VersiFlex since we started testing it. And so they're going to be here with us tomorrow live. That is at 2 p.m. Eastern. So please make sure and watch that panel. They're going to give you some tips and tricks on using VersiFlex, which is kind of what we're going to start doing today. So today we're going to go through some fabric. I'm going to start with cotton because that, of course, is my favorite. Talk about some tips that I've learned. I see that we do have a couple of our, hold on one moment for me. My computer's arguing with me. I do see that we have some testers here with us. Rhodes and I have used VersiFlex quite a bit as well. So if any questions come up as we go, please feel free to ask them. I see some faces on here who've used VersiFlex, so they'll be glad to help me answer them as well. So I will, we're going to do fabric today. Next week, we're going to do some hard surfaces. Just to go ahead and let you know, the next week, the first week of May, we're going to do a reset. So we will not be doing a workshop the first week of May. And then if rumor is true, I'm going to be doing 2 lives per week starting after that. But that first week of May, I will be at Vespa, and that is going to be in Berlin. So if you are over there, FESPA is definitely the place to be. A lot of us will be there, and I will as well. And then that next week, like I said, sounds like we're going to be starting to do a few more workshops, which is going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to go ahead and get started. While I'm getting my software pulled up, do you have any early questions about VersiFlex? You can ask Rhodes in the chat, and he can tell me, or you can just unmute and ask as well. But if you have any questions about the VersiFlex system, now's a good time to kind of throw those out while we're getting that file pulled up. All right. So this first one, we are just going to pull up a file that I have already. And we'll go from there. All right, let me share my screen for you. Okay. All right, so I am in the Sawgrass print utility. Like I said, this is a file that I had just made and saved myself. So I am just going to go ahead and use that, make sure it fits on my page and everything's set up. I do have my default paper set as mug paper because I was doing a project that needed it, but I do have tabloid paper in there now. So we're going to go ahead and do it. I'm going to go ahead and do this on a cotton shirt. I will go ahead and turn this landscape so I can make it a little bit bigger. And I will use my crop to image size to get image area to get rid of some extra white. That actually, we'll do that on something else in just a minute. I'm going to use a different file if that's okay. Same thing though, let's change my paper size. And spread that out a little bit. All right, cool. Okay, I'm going to center this on page. Now, let's talk about one of the first tips I can give you for VersiFlex, and that is going to be this adjust for light colors button. So anytime you are using lighter colors, this is going to help you out. Now, before we go too far into this, let me give you a little bit of an explanation. Okay, so with VersiFlex, it is a CMY process. What is traditionally the black channel on the printer is going to be an expander. Now, two things here. Let's talk first about what the expander does. So the expander is going to be laid down anywhere there's ink. And by doing that, it is going to help the paper self-weed. Now, this is only when you're using the VersiFlex Light Paper. So this is only when you're going, when we talk about textiles, fabrics that are not polyester. Now, someone says, or people have said, but Rhonda, I know that you could use other synthetic fabrics with sublimation as well. And you could, but it's not exactly the same. It's not going to get as much coverage. So if it is anything other than, I would say 80% polyester or more, you're going to want to use the VersiFlex Light Paper with your VersiFlex ink. Now, everything I'm saying is only when you're using the VersiFlex Light Paper. Your normal sublimation on regular sublimation paper works the same as it always has for you. So you don't really have to worry about that. But this is for using the VersiFlex Light Paper. And so that expander is what helps it to self-weed. And so that means that only the ink and the paper that it's on is going on there and not that full sheet. So you're only getting what you need on there. When you are using extremely light colors, and I found that it's typically lighter shades of blues and greens, pinks, all of the pinks, you really need to have that box checked. Now I am doing black, so we don't have to worry about that. Now, here's the next question. Rhonda, you don't have a black channel. How are you getting a black? Honestly, it's the same way we've always got black. Black is a composite of the other colors. Did we use black some in the past to help enhance it? Yes, but we've been able to tweak the profiles so that it is not needed. And you're getting a really solid black when you are using the VersiFlex ink. Trust me, you really will. Hopefully you're going to see that today. So let's go ahead and jump back into that image. Rhodes, have any questions come up?
No questions so far. You're good.
All right. Okay. And y'all forgot to remind me that it was tabloid paper. All right, so I'm going to go to my color management. I think photographic's going to be fine for this. I'm going to see if the vivid looks good or looks any better, and I think I will use that. I'm going to go ahead and hit print. And I'm going to shrink this just a little bit to make it easier to see. Not my very full calendar. All right, there we go. Okay, now I did forget to do one step. And that is, I'm going to quickly pre-press this shirt. Actually, my press is still warming up. So we're going to go into the design tool and work on our next file while we do that. Now, one of the things you're going to learn about VersiFlex, there is about a 10-minute limit. If that ink dries, you're not going to be able to use it. So we're going to kind of monitor. If I can still do this one, I will. If not, we'll reprint it. But that's what I get for not checking the press temperature first. But that is going to print. We're going to let that sit and I'll keep an eye on the clock. And we'll go ahead and design a new file. All righty. Okay, and this is our advertisement for that unboxing tomorrow. That's what we're calling it. We do have some really fun things planned, so make sure and join in. Mhm. Okay, so I brought a lot of fun things with me today. And I want to make sure that we do some things that are a little different. All right. And I want to kind of open your mind up to the types of things that you can do with the VersiFlex. And some things we've had some really great success on. All right. So this next project is actually going to be an 8.5 by 11. So I'll go ahead and do a blank sheet. Now, one of the big things to be aware of as you are doing this is to make sure that you're designing for what you're pressing onto. If we are doing things that are in color, and this is actually going to be a pale pink piece of felt. If we are designing things that are in color, you want to do colors that complement that and colors that are going to pop on that. So we're going to go into our graphic library today. And I've been really excited lately about some of the florals that we have. So I'm actually going to use this. And I actually think this is going to look very nice. Actually, I'm going to go back in and change my product. Or you know what? We'll make this easier. I'll just rotate it. Not a big difference, but I can make it a little bit bigger. All right, we'll go ahead and hit print. Now, what could you do with something on felt? Well, it's a very nice material if you want to, hold on, let me see what's going on. There we go. It's going to be a very nice fabric if you wanted to frame that. If you do so, there are other things that you could add it to. It could be the front of a small pillow. If you get a larger sheet of felt, it could definitely be the front of a pillow. So there's a lot of projects that you could do with felt. The beauty of VersiFlex is it does allow you to think outside of the normal box, and it does allow you to make things as well. And so this is going to be very useful and something that's going to be really great. So we're going to go ahead and open that up and get that set up. Of course, I'm not going to print it until we get it ready to go. Go ahead and change my paper size to start with. And change that to, so here's where we can go with this. This actually is felt. We can choose felt. And so I've got felt. I'm going to center that on the page. And we're going to be ready to go. All right, perfect. All right, so that's ready. I'm going to check my press really fast. Okay, so my press is in the temperature range and it is within 10 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and press this. So I'm going to start with a quick pre-press. This is new press for me, so be patient with me. Rhodes actually had to give me a quick tutorial right before I started. I'm just going to pre-press this. Now, why is pre-press so important? So you probably have used pre-press in the past to get on any wrinkles. Pre-press with this does a second thing, and that is it is going to allow you to get any moisture out of the shirt, because this is more of a water-based paper. Any water, moisture, humidity in the fabric could actually impact the press. So we want to make sure and do that. All right, so my drawing is ready. Now, one thing I will tell you about this, because it is wet, you do have to be a little more careful with your rollers. So you are going to have to clean your feed belt and things like that a little bit more. Rhodes is actually going to help you with that. He has some things coming out soon, some videos, so make sure you keep an eye on our YouTube channel. All right, and that's ready to go. So it is going on wet. We are not going to be able to reposition this. So you will see I am hovering. I have centered my shirt, so I know where the center is. I am hovering, and then I'm just going to drop it. I have found that works pretty well. We're ready to go. All right, so Rhodes, have any questions come in?
Nope, I'm taking care of questions. You keep rolling.
Awesome. We have about 16 seconds. So to me, and hopefully it's going to come out perfect, cotton shirts are the sweet spot. They are the easiest and the fastest to do. But I want to show you some of the other things that you can do as well. So we will do that. All right. Check out my new shirt. Nope, it's centered and everything. So there's my shirt. You should be able to see that pretty well. And you can see how solid of a black that is on that shirt. All right. And I love the feel of this. You know, it's not sublimation. It's not a part of it. It is on top, but it's not a bad feel. It's a very soft feel. Washes very well. We have met industry standards for wash fastness. And that's a really cute shirt that I did with a shirt I've been having hanging around for quite a while. All right. Let's go ahead and do some felt. Can anyone else think of some projects that you could do with felt? Some other uses for it. I know a lot of people use felt for car air fresheners. So if you used a thicker felt, you can make those on your own, especially if you have a way to cut them. You could do felt ornaments as well. Felt actually is something that you can scent with essential oils. So any of those projects would work pretty well. Does anyone else have anything else?
I do felt storyboards for the little kids, the preschoolers.
Yep.
That's, I mean, okay, showing my age, that's a little old school, but sometimes to take them back away from those electronics, I make those.
Yeah, those are a great idea too. So, and felt's just an easy material to work with. Lori, you actually did make me think of another one. You could do like the paper dolls with that as well. So you could do little sets where they have the clothes that they can interchange and all of that. So there's some really fun projects you could do with that. So yeah, as I was saying, you will need to check your rollers, check your feed belts, just occasionally to make sure that that's all good and lines up. Now, this is gonna be one of those, it's gonna be a little controversial. I'm gonna do a flip. So I'm gonna drop this on here and then just flip it over. Now, may that smear because I flipped it, maybe, but it's a good experiment for everyone. I think probably the biggest, and Rose, Lori, Robin, kind of pitch in here, if you will. And this actually, yeah, this should be good. One of the things that I have found is that pressure is going to be very important. So you want to make sure your pressure is very high. What do I mean by very high? There should be some resistance in lifting the press. I said this is a new press. I actually had Rhodes verify this for me before we started. He watched me to make sure there was enough resistance because there should be a little bit of resistance with this. Now, one thing I do want to check, I want to make sure that my adjust for light colors button was selected, and it was. That's going to be very important on this particular project.
And I think in the beginning, that was when I first got mine, the pressure was my issue because what I felt was heavy pressure really wasn't. I actually have a step stool now. I have to step on the step stool so I have enough upper body strength to close it.
Yeah. All right. Now my paper stuck a little bit to my paper underneath. That's a learning lesson for me, but I think this will still be good. Go ahead and pull it down. Now this to me is a little bit too much resistance. I don't think this is gonna work well, and I think I may have let it sit just a second too long, but this is all part of that learning process. This is something that we definitely stretch. Now, what did I do wrong? I hesitated when I pulled it off. And because I hesitated, it did stick a little bit. A lot of this is learning for us. We've done felt works great. I just messed up my first felt project. But it's kind of a learning curve. You kind of learn as I learn. But I already know what I did wrong. I let it sit too long. That hot peel is going to be extremely important. And I just didn't get it there quick enough. But as you can see, the colors are beautiful on that felt. This would definitely be something. Now, again, because it's the felt, I can probably play with the temperature. I see my press has gotten a little hot. I would also, of course, because it did stick, I'm gonna make sure that my paper underneath doesn't throw me off like it did. But otherwise, I would have had a very successful project. But I'm getting there. All right, let's check something else. Okay, so I'm gonna go to my other new favorite, and that is going to be a hat. So I'm gonna do a hat. We're gonna put that on there. Now, I do have a hat press, thankfully. That makes life a lot easier if you're doing a hat. So I'll go ahead and get that on here. The big learning that I have with the hat press, and if anyone else has a hat press and wants to chime in, is making sure that it's nice and centered and that that tension is high. You want to make sure that tension's high on the hat. Make sure it's nice and flat. And that should be all we need to do. All right. Okay, so again, just to remind you, because I said it, but I said it really fast, it is a hot peel. It is very important that you peel it as quickly as possible. With that felt, I hesitated just a little bit too much. All right. Go business card size on this. Actually, I'll go back to where I was. I think I'm going to be good. All right. Now I'm going to make sure this is set for cotton. I do not need the adjust for light colors on this because it is black.
Rhonda, we're not seeing your screen.
Oh, well, that's perfect. I'm just talking and no one can see what I'm doing. All right. So I did turn my adjust for light colors off. It is all centered there on the page. I will trim this down, of course, because it's so big. It is set to cotton because that is a cotton hat. And we're ready to go. If I actually hit the print button.
Now, Rhonda, what would happen? You're using a black, a darker color. What would
Yeah.
happen if you inadvertently left the adjustment for light colors left on?
Nothing should happen. It's just I'm trying to get into the habit of using it for when you need it because it does lay down extra expander. So if I know for 100% fact that I'm not going to need that, I don't want to use it. I want to make sure that I'm only using the expander. I know it's like everything else. We want to make sure and conserve where we can, and that's going to be an easy way to conserve that expander. I'm going to check. I think that's going to fit well. It'd probably go a little bit smaller. If I were to make more of these, I probably would go just slightly smaller than this. And again, I'm just trimming that extra paper off so that I can see better. Just so I can see it as I position it. I have a little bit better sense of where it is. It would be very hard to do on a large sheet of paper. And of course, normally I would use smaller paper for this. I got it. And you see that press, you could tell there was a little extra pressure there to make sure that that worked. All right, we're gonna give that just a second. Rose, any questions coming in that I can help with?
Yes, Michelle had a really good question. Have you worked with leather goods before? And I have not. So what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so there are two fabrics that we have found absolutely do not work. Leather is one. Basically, leather is kind of coated, whether you think of it that way or not. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And so because of that coating, it's not going to work. It tends to kind of melt, I'll be honest. The other one that does not work is going to be when you use silk, because silk just cannot tolerate temperature. All right, there's my hat. So I have my cute hat. There you go. All right, any other questions, Rhodes?
I believe you are caught up on questions.
Wonderful. And I'm doing well on time. All right. So I went to the fabric store so I went to the craft store this morning. Like I said, we have a bunch of people in house. And so I went to the craft store and I got so many goodies for us to test. So I'm really excited about some of the products they have for tomorrow for a project they're doing. But I also picked up some things as well. And so this next one is going to be just that. So this is considered to be a linen. Now it does look like denim. That's why I'm using it. I wanted you to see how it looks on the denim color because denim is probably one of my favorite things that we have found that you can use it with. But this kind of is a double. It's going to give you the colors of denim, but it is in a linen fabric. What would you use this for? Pillows, blankets. I could see even putting a monogram on a scarf. So lots of cool things that you could do with this. Let me cut down a little bit of fabric because this is a big piece. And I don't have the world's best scissors today, so I apologize. I actually am not going to cut it because that would be more embarrassment for me. So we'll just use it off of the big sheet. It's not going to matter for this. All right. Rhodes, while I'm getting a file set up, go ahead if you have any other questions.
Yeah, so I have two things I'd like for you to kind of clarify for everyone in the group.
Yep,
When not using the VersiFlex option, when using this ink for traditional sublimation,
yep,
what happens with the expander ink?
nothing. The expander is not used on regular sublimation. You are going solely off of the CMY channels and the expander is not laid down. That is the beauty of our software. It's telling the system what it needs to lay down, so you don't really have to worry about that.
Thank you. And then the other one is, I'm going to kind of rephrase this, Miss Dina, just so it is clear to the rest of the group. How dark of a shirt color could you
Yeah.
work with when using VersiFlex?
Yes, so we have gone as far as what I call emerald green and have gotten good results. Now, what do I define as good results? It's all going to depend on your design. You are not, this is not vinyl. It's not sitting on top. There is no white base. So every color is going to be impacted by what's behind it. I'm actually going to try on this one to go with something with a little bit of color. But in general, I would say I think I'm getting quoted on this. I say lights, whites, and brights. I think you can go almost to a mid-range color from what I've seen with pretty solid results. I will at the end show you my wall over here so you can see it. But in general, I say lights, brights, and whites. So I will tell you what you can definitely exclude. Hunter green, navy blue, burgundy, maroon, garnet, garnet, and black. I would also say probably a heather gray or an emerald green are as dark as I would go because you don't have that white underlay. So designs like I did earlier, which were primarily black, you could go, I would say mid-range colors, if that makes sense. I wouldn't go anything into the darker hues. Does that answer the question, Rhodes?
That's perfect. Thank you.
I'm trying to find something that I think will look pretty on that material. Let's go. Sorry, I'm sticking in the florals today. I'm in a floral kind of mood. Actually, let's see. All right. That's what I get for venturing out. I didn't find anything I liked. All right. Okay, let's check out this flower. Of course, this would be great if you were putting it on a pocket. I'm going to make it decently big so y'all can see that well. And we'll go from there. But so I did this project yesterday. I actually did flowers on 2T shorts. So shorts with a little back pocket, put a little flower on there, and it was the cutest thing ever. So a great little project you can do. Right. All right. So this is, like I said, a linen. I would feel safe on this going with natural fabrics. I'm going to change that paper size. This is definitely one where I'm going to have that button on. Alrighty. Okay, we're going to hit print. While that is printing, I'm going to go ahead and pre-press this fabric. Not too worried about this one as far as where I put it or anything like that, because this is just a large piece of fabric. And let that go for a few seconds. Guys, I'm getting really good at this press.
It's a beast, but it works well once you figure it out.
Yeah. It is very nice. All right, so a little bit of a jam. It's almost clear. Now again, this as the linen, this would make a beautiful pillow. I would love to have this sewn onto a pillow. All right, we'll give that 30 seconds. The one thing I didn't get today that I kind of wanted to do for you is this game changer. All you have to do, and so this is kind of with everything we do, anything that is not flat, you want to make sure that you're getting this part out of the press. I don't think this would be a problem as far as it melting or anything, but I would try to keep only this part under the press. But wouldn't this be so cute with a monogram or an initial? And it's such an easy pull. Look at that. Now, as you're seeing, this is a true peel. This isn't like sublimation where the paper kind of pulls off. You are having to peel it. And this is so cute. All right. Check that out. Isn't that the cutest? All right. Other things I didn't do today. I picked up some 100% cotton bags. These would be so adorable. I also picked up this nylon fanny pack. And so we actually, like I said, we are going to FESPA. This will be my little fanny pack that I'll have, or my crossbody bag that I'll have for my trips. I'm really excited to make that. The other thing that we've done that's worked really well is this, which is a suede. So while you can't do leather, you can do suede. Suede does look really, really good. All right. Rhodes, I'm gonna spin my camera around. Tell me if it's centered on the wall when I'm done. Does that get a good view of the wall?
Looks good.
All right. So these are all fabrics. So I think they're a good kind of place to end. This is nylon. This, of course, is denim. This is that nylon bag as well. This is true sublimation on the slides, but there's one specific shirt I want to show you. And it's this guy. This here had to have that light button check. It was actually coming out completely blank. So this needed that light button to kind of tell you the kind of colors that do need that. All right, so that's all I've got for you today. I hope you learned something. Rhodes, are there any other questions?
Another materials question. I know you can sublimate onto tissue paper, but have we tried VersiFlex onto?
Actually have had great success with cardstock and with paper bags.
Cool.
So yes, one of the reasons being the temperature can be a little bit lower than you normally need. And then, well, I guess the other big part is the time is a lot less at the 30 seconds. So that's helping with that too. But we are starting to play with that and to play with kind of the paper crafts and what you can do in that area. But yes, we are finding great success with that.
Awesome. You just made Michelle's day.
Yay! Glad to hear that, Michelle.
Mine too.
Go ahead.
I said mine too, because I have like a million. You know what? You know how I am. I saw something shiny. Now I'll put everything aside for tomorrow and be obsessing.
I know, right? And so this morning I went to the craft store to pick up some stuff, as I said. I picked up some wooden clock faces. So just wood with the numbers cut into it. I think it's gonna make a fantastic clock, and I'm so very excited to try or to watch someone try that tomorrow. All right, Rhodes, any other questions?
I think we're all set for today. Thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We'll see you back next week. We're going to do the same thing, probably in the same spot. And this time we're gonna work on some hard surfaces, so try out some of those wood and stone projects. And so thank you so much for joining us and have a great day. Bye-bye.